Hey there, and welcome to Goal Getter, the podcast that gives high-performing women the nutrition, mindset, and goal-setting strategies that actually work. I'm your host, Jenna Hostetler, registered dietitian, certified neurocoach, and your go-to guide to break free from burnout, cut through the health noise, and reclaim control of your health, your habits, and your life. Each week, you'll get practical, science-backed strategies to support you in crushing your goals so you can stop second-guessing yourself, sharpen your focus, and finally feel like the woman who leads her life, not just survives it. Okay, I gotta know what your favorite go-to gotta have it treat is this time of year. We made all kinds of delicious candies and treats during the holidays when I was a kid, and it wasn't every year, and it wasn't always the same thing, but those candied almonds and the nut cluster things, and this weird buttery sugary coating that goes on club crackers, all delicious, all fun to make, and haven't been recreated for probably 15 years, because if you make it, then you gotta eat it. So now, I just buy my Christmas sugary goodies so that there are limited quantities, and my weakness is 100% those Lindor truffles. I think the first time I ever had them was when I was working at Kroger, and they had this big bulk bin of them, so you can just buy whatever and however many flavors you wanted. But they're freaking delicious. Those bluish purple ones, dark chocolate ones are good, but hands down, that red one is amazing. And I'm always hyper aware of how much sugar I'm eating, and I rarely go overboard. If so, it's only for like a day. And I've never been much of an emotional eater. I'm more of an eat because there's fun things happening type of person. But I've never experienced eating as a way to feel better. I've never experienced feeling out of control around food. And because of that, it's always been really hard for me to empathize with people who struggle with emotional eating. And that is one reason why the conversation of food addiction is so very interesting to me. So in light of the holidays and how easy it is to totally fall off the wagon this time of year, today we are looking at sugar addiction with addiction recovery specialist Bitten Johnson. And the conversation is really interesting. So whether or not you struggle to control yourself around sugar or other foods, this episode will provide valuable information for anyone who cares about their health. Let's dive in. I'm really excited for this conversation. We have Bitten Johnson. So she is a world-renowned trainer of sugar addiction counselors, and she will be celebrating her 40th year in addiction medicine and treatment this fall, which is super exciting. And she's joining us all the way from Sweden. Welcome.
Hi, Jenna. Thank you for having me on. One more small correction. It's 38.
38. Okay. Well, you're nearing 40.
In September, 38 in September.
Okay. That's still very impressive. And I can imagine the amount of knowledge you have acquired over those years.
And experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a clinician, so, I'm a hands-on person.
Okay. So when people come to you, what are they struggling with? What are they wanting help with? And how do you help them?
You talk about my experience with clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I work with thousands of clients. Well, they say things like, there's certain foods I can't stop eating no matter what I do. I tried every diet there is and I fail. I am a failure. Why can everybody else do it and I can't? I don't understand that. They do this crazy comparison. But could you help me and give me the perfect diet? Maybe I can do it with the perfect diet. Or I'm depressed, I don't have any energy, I'm overweight, or many are normal weight and even underweight. So sugar addiction is not about weight. Let's talk about that. They hate their bodies. Well, I could go on and on. They come to me because there are several consequences in their life: physical, psychological, economical, with relationships, with school, work, leisure time. They've lost all of that. So they are in a trap with the food. And they feel miserable because they're trapped. And they also, one important thing, they say, how can I control it? How can I control it? That's a big thing. Can you help me to take control?
Okay, I have so many questions based on what you just said. So first of all, let's talk about the comparison thing. Because, as we just heard with Esteban, it is important to be around people who are supportive and to be around people who have the same priorities and the same values as you. But how does somebody recognize the difference between, I'm seeing what you're doing and it motivates me, I'm seeing what you're doing and it makes me depressed, or I'm seeing what you're doing and I just don't know what's wrong with me that I can't have it too.
Well, I like to say one thing that's very important in my life. There's three, you could divide everybody in three different categories. You have the people that are social users of food. They never overeat. They might eat one small piece of chocolate, they can stop. They don't have the cravings, they don't go overboard, they don't really like junk food. They eat, very normal, healthy food all the time, and that's just their lifestyle. And they don't get any consequences. Those are social users. There's a lot of those out there. So we don't have to really worry about those people. They could improve some of the things in their food plan, but they don't really have any bad problems. Okay, then you have a second group, the harmful users. They get very much negative consequences, but they don't have the loss of control you have when you have an addiction. So they usually eat due to partying. I mean, because they want to celebrate, because of culture, because they broke up with their loved ones, because of stress. That's a big thing. Stress in different forms, because of emotions and all that kind of thing. So they don't know anything about eating either. It could be that they are not taught what healthy food is. So those are harmful users. They can be overweight. They can have loss of energy. They could have inflammation in their body. They could have a lot of physical and psychological problems too, but they are not addicts. That's very important to remember. And then you have the third group, which is the only one that I work with and is interested in, because all the others, they can pick up a cookbook or go to therapy and deal with their stress, and they could fix the things that is the problem. And you could ask them, why do you do like this? The harmful users, you can ask why. And then you have the addicts, which is a neurological illness in the brain. The brain is hijacked. So those people, they have a totally different way of looking at the whole concept. They know what to do. It's not that they don't. They come to me and they say, tell me what to eat. And I look them straight in the eye and I said, are you telling me you don't know what to stay away from and what to eat? And they laugh a little bit embarrassed and said, well, yeah, I know, but they can't do it. Part of their brain is hijacked. That was addiction is all about. Addiction is loss of control. Addiction is, keep doing it, even though you have so many negative consequences. You might get diabetes and have to amputate the leg, and you can still not stop. That's not going to scare you. Addiction is an incredible, powerful wiring of your brain, hampering of your brain. So you can't talk about just how to motivate them, or it's just to sharp up and go to the gym, or it's just to eat better. It's not going to work on an addict. That would be like scratching on ice. They need incredible much knowledge, competence from the professional to put them on a straight road to recovery, which for them is going to be, up and down and in and out and very painful. So it's a totally different ball game. And this is something a lot of professionals don't understand, that you have to know which group am I dealing with. So many of the moderation eating or deal with your stress or take a long walk or go to the gym is for the harmful users. It's not going to work on the addicts, not in the beginning. With addicts, you have to detox them. That's very painful. You have to take away everything that's sugar, sweetener, flour, processed food, and ultra-processed food. And that is a painful process because they are hooked on it. They love it. They want me to help them with the consequences, but they don't want to change and get rid of their lover, the food. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, and I feel like the term like sugar addiction and food addiction is thrown around almost casually anymore. And I think a lot of people who identify themselves as emotional eaters would say they have an addiction. And for me, it's really tough probably to see the difference because when I was in school, like food addiction was not really recognized. And this wasn't that long ago. Like even a professional that I was working with said, how can you be addicted to something that you need? So like, of course, you could be addicted to cigarettes, but how can you be addicted to food? Because your body needs food. And so I feel like, especially in the diet industry, like, do you think some people genuinely don't recognize that food addictions are real? And then maybe it's
Yes,
hard
but
to really help
yeah,
people.
and the reason I refuse to say food addiction, I do it with people that don't know anything else, because that's the terminology they use. That is the common terminology, food addiction. I'm not addicted to food, Jenna. I'm addicted to sugar. I'm addicted to the psychoactive substances in food. I'm not addicted to meat, butter, veggies, fish, egg. This is what's so important to understand. And I think this is what some people grapple so much with. Am I food addicted? How can I be addicted to fuel for my body?
Mhm.
And I said, no, you're not. Okay, let's see what happens if you take away all the sugar, all the sweeteners, all the flours, anything processed or ultra processed. Let's take that away. Then we have to add two things from food group, and that is dairy products except butter and ghee. Because the casein in milk products, whipped cream, cheese, and all that will give a raise in insulin. So therefore, that creates, a drop in the blood sugar and you get craving. So people, most of the sugar addicts that I work with, I would say 80%, maybe more, cannot keep those dairy products in the food plan. Then there is one more thing, and that's nuts. Because I used to joke and say to my patients, they say, can I keep nuts in my food plan? And I said, well, if you could put one nut on a plate and eat it with a knife and fork. Because there's also something in the munchiness, eating, you don't get really satisfied. It's not like eating a piece of, meat with butter and a veggie to eat nuts. So even if you eat a huge bag, it's not giving you fuel for the body, for the brain. And it's also carbs. And by the way, it is poor fats in nuts. It's a lot of omega-6, which is not good for our bodies. So those two we call trigger foods. They will make you want to eat the sweets, the sugars, the candy, the bread, the pasta, and all that kind of stuff. So that's, I think it is very important that we learn to say sugar addiction, because addiction is about a psychoactive substance. Meat is not a psychoactive substance.
I'm really glad you made that distinction because that is really, really helpful. So my question is, okay, so just to clarify, you said that milk and cheese and nuts are a trigger for sugar addiction. Is that correct?
People that have a sugar addiction, yeah, if they keep whipped cream, sour cream, and cheeses and stuff like that in their food plan, they usually relapse back into the sugars, the breads, the candy, the cookies, and so forth. Butter is very, very few people are sensitive to butter. Most people can do butter. And ghee is even better because it's even less casein in ghee, as you know. So, that's good. But nuts and fruits, those are really triggers for sugar addicts. And some people can handle it. They say, oh, I can handle it for a while. Maybe a year, 2 years. But, what I've seen, because I worked with addicts for 38 years, but with sugar addicts for 30 years. And I have contact with some of my clients from the very beginning. I see that over time, because in order to be sugar addiction, you have to have a sugar sensitive brain, and anything carb will eat at you. And then you have to remember that we age, our reward center age, the brain ages, everything ages. So the body gets more sensitive, as the years go by. You're more sensitive for everything you put in your body, in the hormone chain, and everything is connected with everything. So you can't look at only the reward center or, the limbic system or prefrontal cortex. You have to look at the thyroid, what happens to the thyroid, to your adrenals, to your stomach, to your microbiome. It's a whole package that we have to work with, and it becomes more sensitive. It looks like, and this is my own experience, that I need to eat more clean food the older I've gotten, with that, I mean, no additives, stick to very natural foods. And that, if I do that, I don't have a problem. No cravings. My energy level is wonderful, stable. I feel great. So it seems like, it sounds really silly, but it is simple. We should eat what our bodies are made to eat. And that is not anything additive or huge amounts of carbs or anything in that way. We're not made in that way, biologically, physically.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so to that respect, what do you say about the phrase, everything in moderation?
Bullshit for a sugar addict. Total bullshit for a sugar addict. Dangerous. It is a very, it's a breach of treatment for a professional to say that. And if they do the screening, assessment, and diagnostic I teach people to do, professionals, and they see this is a harmful user, fine, go with moderation. If it is an addict, nobody would tell a heroin addict to have a little bit of heroin on Saturday. It is the only way to recover is to take away anything, processed sugar, sweeteners, all the things, flour, blah, 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 blah. That's the only way. So anyone that tells you anything else, but as an addict, you want to keep the drug, you want to backdoor to the drug. So of course, you're going to listen to that nutritionist or dietitian that said, I can help you eat in moderation. But that is very dangerous, because you're making that person, if it is an addict, sicker and sicker. And the problem is that we addiction professionals, we're the last house on the street. People come to us when they have done everything else and tried the moderation 10 times and the Weight Watcher 10 times and the low carb 10 times without understanding they're addicts and whatever diet it is, and in my world, the word diet is banned. I don't use the word diet at all because it's a trigger. I don't use the word fasting. That's a trigger for addicts because they have no boundaries. They are black and white, on and off. So that's what you have to understand when you work with an addicted brain. And that's a challenge. I love people that have addicted brains. They're very special people.
Whether or not you struggle with sugar addiction, it is crucial to stay on top of how much sugar you're eating because it can really tank your immunity and your gut health. So, I have a low sugar holiday eats guide that you can download for free with some really good, really easy recipes that allow you to still enjoy the typical holiday treats without going overboard and giving yourself more work to do in January. So you can go ahead and grab that below in the show notes. And I encourage you to decide right now what will your allowances be during this season. Then, take action. Stay empowered to follow through, and I will see you next week. Okay, now before you pop off, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the one episode that could change your life. And it would be incredibly helpful if you would leave a 5-star review so that more high-performing women can find this podcast. If you want to check out all of the free guides, templates, and resources I've given away, go to sprintnutritioncoaching.com. You can grab anything you want, but only if you will do it, because information without implementation is worthless. And here at Goal Getter, we are action takers, not excuse makers.